Is that MisaMisaVR?
Hey Juggalos, it's Misa, number one Juggalo VTuber. So with Netflix announcing they're canceling season 2 of Cowboy Bebop, the live action, I figured it was a good time to marathon through the show, watch it all, see how it is. I had no real interest in it, but I was going to give it a fair shot, and I did. And I figured I'd review it. I wrote a review already, which will probably be very similar, on my blog, which I've mentioned before, but it's 24framesps.wordpress.com. 24 frames per second was taken already. It's supposed to be that, but it was taken by some Korean live action review blog. So 24 frames ps.wordpress.com, I'm pretty sure. I'll put the link somewhere. Anyway, so I just wanted to review it, and since there's not more coming anyway, I was like, I'll just watch it all. And I watched it all. Watched a couple episodes with a friend, watched the rest by myself. I figured, why not try making a video review of it? I haven't really done any reviews before in video format, other than the Yum Bedlam ICP album review. But other than that, I haven't done it. So I wanted to try. Oops! Whoa! Grab the camera. Also, you can see. Oh my God! We're in Space Station Misa, one of my worlds on VR chat. You can come visit it if you want. But yeah, we'll get to the review and see how the show was. So before I get into Netflix's Bebop, I actually wanted to talk about just Cowboy Bebop in general, because through VR chat I've met a lot of like younger anime fans and stuff, and they don't actually know what it is. Because I tried to talk to them about the live action, like shitting on it for the most part, to spoil the review, as I tend to do. But like, so I just wanted to say really quick, it's an action adventure anime. It came out, a while back. I think, oh man, I don't remember the exact date. I should have done some research. I think 98? Yeah, something like that. But, and it was basically an action adventure show, anime, obviously, with like a small cast, and for the most part, it was pretty upbeat, and it was just kind of fun. They'd go around hunting bounties, and having personalities and whatever, however they are, which I'll get into a little bit, comparing the characters a little bit. I try to avoid too many comparisons in this because they've been done a million times, and they're kind of pointless, because the Netflix show, even on its own, is worth judging without even comparisons. So we'll get to that though. But if you didn't know, that's kind of the basics. It's just a fun action adventure show that was kind of, at the time, there wasn't much else. There was much else like it, but it was the first that kind of, it was one of the original anime that kind of blew up in a big way in the West, and thanks to Toonami and all that, and kind of got a lot of new anime fans into anime, which was most people in America at the time, and even, I assume, Europe and stuff too. I don't know how things went there, to be exact, but in America, I grew up right after the age where you had to like just know somebody who knew a guy who knew another guy who knew a guy in Japan who had a VHS tape of an anime episode, who would then send it over through the mail, and that person would and it would get passed around. I was right after that era of anime, so I was ahead of like Bebop and everything, but a lot of people came in from Bebop, and even some of those people had seen anime before, but they had seen what else was on TV, which was Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball. It wasn't like Cowboy Bebop, so they didn't know really about this kind of thing. And so seeing this really cool, like, I guess more mature in a way, not really, but sort of, but like more of a kind of like just an actiony, like something you'd see on American TV, but with anime, was kind of a new thing for a lot of people. And it went from, it wasn't super new. Anime existed, but it wasn't something anybody knew about or cared about. It was not legitimate really at the time in the West. I mean, there were everybody was calling it Japanime at the time. That's how, that's how it was. And then Toonami started having anime, and a lot of it was stuff people ignored. But then Cowboy Bebop came on, and suddenly the world was aflame with love for this cartoon. Oh, this Japanese Japanime cartoon that was on the TV. And so that kind of is why so many people treat this like this beloved thing. And that kind of is a big part of what people were so worried about with Netflix adapting it, and what a lot of the reviews mention, I assume. I've seen little clips and bits and stuff, and it's always pretty much, Cowboy Bebop's the most amazing thing in the world. It's not. It never was. You know, which is one of the things, and I'm mentioning this not just as a preface to explain Bebop, but also as a first toe into the review, because there are a few things I need to mention before I get to talking about Netflix, the Netflix adaptation, which is a few things I've seen come up about in discussions of the show and in reviews of the show, which are kind of, some of them unfair, some of them stupid, like that. A lot of arguments I've seen are literally just about how anime doesn't work as live action. It's impossible to make anime work as live action, and that just isn't true. It's rare. It's not the most common thing for there to be good adaptations to live action. There's pretty much none in the West. In America, there's pretty much nothing. There's pretty much been zero good adaptations of anime or video games in America. In Japan, it's not like they do such an amazing job. For the most part, they also do shitty at adapting this stuff. But it's not totally shit. They have some really fantastic ones. Especially for shows that aren't even animated. So, like, adapting manga into live action has worked really well in Japan. But there's plenty of anime adaptations to live action from Japan that are really good too. Like, some are even maybe better, arguably better, or at least equal to the anime itself. Great example, probably the one most people would agree with most easily. Great Teacher Onizuka. When I say that, I mean the original GTO, not the... They made a remake of the entire show with some greasy Korean-looking guy with orange hair, and I don't care for that one at all. The original Onizuka show, the original GTO live-action adaptation, though, isn't just really fantastic and really good and gets everything across, but the actual actor for Onizuka, I should have looked up his name, I forgot his name, but the actual actor is who the mangaka, the creator of the manga, actually based Onizuka on. Not his personality or anything, but his facial features and his reactions to things and how he looked and acted and and moved, and all of that was because a big part of GTO is Onizuka's like facial expressions and stuff, and it all came from this actor, and they used that actor, and he does it perfect. And it's a really good show. There's differences from the manga and the anime, and some of them are worse, some of them are better, and it's really good. And that is a cool, rare case where a manga was adapted with the actor that playing himself in a show based on a person who, it was a weird example of he's acting a character that was based on him. That's kind of cool. Some other good ones, some other good live action Japanese adaptations, just off the top of my head. I really love Team Medical Dragon, very good, and it's got Hiroyuki Sawano, the Attack on Titan soundtrack guy, back before Attack on Titan, and that's kind of where most of the Attack on Titan music kind of originated. You can hear it, and I've listened to a bunch of his old music, and you can hear in Team Medical Dragon, that's really where he got that exact feeling that he uses in Attack on Titan. Another one, Nodame Cantabile, very good live action. Hanakimi, another one I personally really loved. The manga is one of my favorites, but also the live action was just outstanding. Very, very well done. So I mean, I agree that the medium of anime itself is something really special. There's nothing else that can really do what anime does. I don't know how to explain that better right at this moment. I have before, but it's a special medium with you can do things with anime that you can't do with anything else. Just like you can do with most mediums. Almost everything has, if you use it a certain way, there's stuff you can do that nothing else can manage. Like Ever 17, don't look up spoilers, please. It would suck for you because it's one of the most amazing stories ever, and it only works because it's a visual novel. And stuff like that. And anime has its own things too, where it only works because it's anime. But it depends what it is, and it depends on how they do it, how they adapt it. Like, for example, that shitty Death Note adaptation, both the Japanese one and the American one, there was no reason for that. It totally could have been good. The only thing about it would be that Ryuk would look stupid because he'd be CG pretty much no matter what, or he'd be in a really ugly suit. Who cares? That wouldn't ruin it, but they just did shitty jobs anyway. But you can totally bring to life most anime stories with real people and cameras. The key reason all these adaptations fail, and you'll notice with them, is it's the director, it's the staff. The cinematography sucks every single time. The acting sucks every single time. The directing sucks every single time. The fucking lighting sucks every single time. It's just bad. It's underfunded and treated as a joke by the people working on them almost every single time. That's why you end up with so many of these shitty adaptations, even in Japan, even in Asia in general. Because they don't care, even there. They treat it as a joke. They treat it as just a whatever, maybe we'll get them a little bit more money. It's not treated with any respect. And so you end up with the entire staff not giving a shit, even the main head people, running the show. The showrunners too, probably, to be literally the people running the show. But, and you end up with a bunch of crap, because when nobody cares about something, of course it ends up crap. So, it's just a bunch of people who either suck or who don't care. And that ends up with a shitty job. But anime can be adapted to live action. It just needs more professional treatment and better acting, better directing, better cinematography, better lighting, better sound, better everything. It needs to be treated like a real production instead of an anime adaptation. Another idea that I see brought up with this show, another defense that people have used, or I guess an attack at the same time, it's kind of an attack and a defense of it at the same time, is that the characters are just impossible to adapt into live action. Anime characters could never work in real life, which again ties back to what I've been talking about this whole time. And it's just not fucking true. There are certainly certain characters that won't work. There are characters that wouldn't work great. There's characters that would look stupid even if you made them work. Like Ryuk, just as an example. No matter what you do with him, he looks fucking retarded in the anime too. There's no fixing that. But that doesn't mean you cannot adapt that into something else other than the anime. Especially the main characters. Being eccentric and quirky is something you can pull off. Being silly, being over the top. Like, you couldn't pull off... I don't know, I hate One Piece, but you couldn't pull off Luffy, whatever his fucking name is, in a live action without looking horrible. You could get the personality right, though. You could get something similar. You can get a facsimile of him without worrying about how he looks. You may make him look stupid, but he could still be him. You would still, as a viewer, understand the character as the same character. Even if he's a little different, even if he looks different, acts a little different. And we'll get to that, too, in a second. For example, in just a little clip from Nodame, they do pretty good at the little clip I showed earlier when I mentioned the Nodame live action. There's that one actually goes a little bit extra into using a little bit of CG and stuff, and it's obvious, but it's fun and it works. It doesn't detract from the show. You have these fun little moments, and they look kind of crummy in a way, but they're enjoyable. You don't care that there's little CG stars popping on Nodame. It adds to it. It adds something to it. It makes it enjoyable. It makes it fun. It makes it feel more like kind of a mix of anime and live action. And that's just an example of a very normal real life show. Setting and everything with a little bit of anime, like the little stuff coming out of it. Like, you can do that. You can pull things off. And okay, so getting back to Bebop specifically, though, Cowboy Bebop doesn't feature a cast of really strange characters at all. Pretty much everybody in the show is normal humans. Like, that's one of the reasons it's kind of boring. Even in the anime, everybody in it's just kind of, they're just kind of normal. It doesn't make them boring. It just makes the cast kind of unexciting, uninteresting, unmemorable. They're really not memorable. They're memorable because it's everybody's first fucking anime. It wasn't mine. I remember them because it's everybody else's. I remember because it's historically important to the medium, albeit being irrelevant now, given how many people I've talked to who don't even know the name at all, or the cast, or anything of it. They don't even know it exists because it's lost its relevance, even to anybody in the anime fandom. But regardless, the cast is very simple. There is no reason you could not adapt every main character, at least, into live action very easily and successfully. For example, what do we got? Well, let's just go with the main cast. Spike. He's just a film noir kind of character. He's just a generic noir detective. He's not a detective, obviously, but the archetype, whatever. He's that's all he is. Jet's the same thing. Jet's just the old ex-cop that also old and tired of everybody's shit and just wants to stay in his ways and used to be a cop and has his little history with law enforcement, even making a whole episode, both in live action and in the anime, about literally, yeah, it's even in both, I'm pretty sure it's in sepia tone because it's just such a cliched story character. Faye, she's just a femme fatale. She's the generic. She uses her body to get, to basically to do what she wants, not to get what she wants in terms of like sex, but like to get the bounty targets. She's weak because she's a girl. She's physically weaker than men. She's not great with guns or weapons, and so she uses her body as her skill to get to get connections with these people to be able to catch them, which she doesn't do very well anyway. At least not in the anime. In the live action, of course, she caught the world's, the galaxy's biggest fucking craziest guy in the world, because she's a girl. But anyway, she's another generic character type that's been adapted for decades, hundreds of years. It's a different, various things. They are not, the only character you could maybe argue would be a little bit difficult to portray is Edward, and how is that hard to adapt?
Oh, that's cute.
Treat, please.
How's about a trick instead, huh, little boy? What do you say?
That's not a little boy.
Huh?
That's a little girl.
What? What are you trying to pull? You're gonna ruin my reputation.
People make it out like Ed's this really just one-of-a-kind, unique idea. She's so wild, so crazy, you could never turn Ed into a real human being or have a human being portray her. She's just a quirky tomboy. It's not that hard. She's just a weirdo nerd with some tomboyish aspects. And she doesn't really do anything that's unusual other than be a weird, over hyperactive weirdo, nerd, loser. She's cute, she's fun. The only aspect about Ed that you couldn't do in live action without like shitty CG, but you could just cut out and wouldn't matter, is her weird physical aspects of her movements and things. Like at one point, in the anime, she goes headfirst into a really thin vase and gets her whole body in there and pops out with her head, if I recall. I think it's her head, and pops back out. And you can't do that with an actress, obviously. Nobody could do that. It'd be impossible. So just cut it out. She can just be a normal, hyperactive, wacky, weird, ADHD-riddled kid. She can move around like an idiot. Like I can see what they were trying with the adaptation, Ed, but they went all sorts of wrong with it. I'm not even gonna bother getting into that. You can just watch the clip. It's probably, I will put it in here somewhere, maybe right here. It's yeah, like they tried, but we can see why they canceled the second season pretty easily.
Spike!
So there's one more thing before we get really into talking about the show itself directly. A lot of the hate for this series is coming from the fans of the anime, and that's true. And I've went over this a little bit already. I don't actually like Bebop that much. I want that part to be clear. I'm not a fan of Cowboy Bebop. I don't hate it. It's fine. I think I gave it a 7. And I mostly gave it a 7 rather than a 6 or 5 because of its significance to anime at the time. Obviously, again, like I said already, Cowboy Bebop doesn't really matter anymore. Nobody even knows what it is. Nobody's heard of it. It's irrelevant, which is another reason why it's kind of weird they would adapt it. I mean, not really. I guess they adapted it for millennials, not for the new generation of anime fans, but that's the people they also changed it to be aimed at, with all of diversity and woke bullshit. It's really aimed at an audience who's never even heard of Cowboy Bebop and so won't bother watching it because they don't give a shit, because it doesn't mean anything to them. So anyway, I'm not a big fan. So this is not a review where I'm fanboying over the cartoon, the anime versus the show. I don't care. There are some things where I will mention that, I will compare them, because it's relevant to how bad they did this or that when they could have done it this or that way. But I'm not a fan of the anime. I've never felt it was better than fine. Even at the time, even for the time period, I didn't, because at the time, Trigun's manga was out for 4 years already. Cowboy Bebop was already a ripoff. It's not the original thing. I mean, there was plenty of shows, but Trigun is, the next biggest thing from the time that people treat as like this big thing.
It's actually a miracle that I got away with it this time.
I found him! Over there!
Perfect shot!
And Trigun is way better. And Trigun's anime started the same year as Bebop's anime. And the manga was ran before Bebop, and Bebop didn't have a manga. And, so it's like, and there's plenty of other ones. Like, by the early 2000s, you had amazing ones. The blew both Trigun out and Cowboy Bebop and the rest out of the water. Like, my favorite, which is actually one of my top 10 favorite anime personally, I do recommend it highly, Gun X Sword. It's the perfect mix of Trigun and Cowboy Bebop with a bunch of other really fun tropes and things from other similar shows. It just pulls them off in really fun ways that the rest of them don't. It's really good. It's really fun. But like, I don't have this love for Bebop like most people do, and so you're not getting an opinion that is based on, oh, I hate this show because I love the anime, and so the show is bad because it adapted the anime bad. I couldn't give a shit less. I really couldn't care in comparison to like how they adapted it. There are some parts that were funny because they adapted it so poorly. But in general, I don't care. I'm not saying Cowboy Bebop is terrible. Again, it's just nothing special. So I mentioned this not to be contrarian, but to say again, this isn't a review from the viewpoint of the live action is bad because I love the anime. I don't love the anime. I really don't care about the anime. I have no feelings for it at all. It's just a fine, average show. And it was all at the time, too. It's never been more than that to me. Because I see that a lot, too, from the few people defending the show genuinely who actually enjoyed it. Or otherwise known as the journalists who are paid to say it's really good. They always attack, the people attacking it. And their whole thing is, oh, anime fans, the fucking weeaboos are attacking this because they're losers who can't handle, this and that. And they hate it just because it's not the same as the anime. Not the case. So, sorry, there's my little disclaimer. And, so I guess we can actually start talking about the show. Netflix's Cowboy Bebop live-action adaptation. So, the first thing I want to bring up is kind of the best thing about the show, and it surprised me. Jet Black. Surprisingly, I have absolutely no issue with the race change. The guy did a fantastic job. He feels like Jet. He sounds like Jet. He acts like Jet. He moves like Jet. He does fantastically at being Jet. He really took the role serious. He treated it as a professional job. He acted like the character. He acted like it mattered to him. He had passion for the role. And he's the only one. He made it Netflix obviously wrote it, but his acting too. They both combined to make it this new character that is the same character. It's still Jet Black as we knew him, but it's a remixed version. And that's exactly what you should do with, if you're not going to do one-to-one adaptations, one-to-one, perfectly exactly the same, then that's what you should do. You should take the content, the material, the source material, and remix it into something that it has the same feeling, has the same, it feels the same, it's got the same tone. You can tell Jet is Jet, but you can also feel it's a new version of Jet. It's not the same Jet we knew, but it is the same Jet we knew at the same time. It's a new take on the same character. And that's how it feels. Sure, he's black. He's got a kid with a really crazy-looking, no-name actress, white woman, because they had to fit in race mixing somehow. And he's got this whole thing with Chalmers, some made-up new character from the police force. And he drives a tricycle, not a motorcycle. The motorized tricycle. The tricycles, all the black guys drive them in real life too. Instead of motorcycles, but instead of his hammerhead, the big ship he used to, he still obviously has the Bebop, but he used to have the Bebop and the hammerhead, which was a pretty cool. I actually really liked it. Now he just has a motorcycle instead of the hammerhead, and there's a bunch of other little changes too, but they don't. It's Jet. Nothing they did changed it from being Jet, and that's a really important point, which I've already kind of said, but that is what this whole show should have been. It should have been like Jet. Jet is the only thing pretty much in the entire series of the Netflix version that feels right, that feels like they actually put thought into it and adapted him as a character. It's a remixed Cowboy Bebop, which I think literally exists as like the Blu-rays or something. But you know what I mean? It's Cowboy Bebop with some changes, not just for adapting it, but to make it new. And I'm totally fine even with them blackwashing him and making him black. I don't care. It changed nothing about the character that didn't fit in with the tone of who he is. And again, the actor out of the entire cast, he actually did really good. And I've never even heard of him before. The only one I've heard of is John Cho, and that's because the one role he had that anybody ever heard of, which is Harold and Kumar. Nobody gives a shit about this guy otherwise. Random Asian guy who's had one role in his life. He did okay too, to be honest. He out of the whole cast, Jet does the best. He does fantastic. And then Spike, all right. After that, it's just ugh. But anyway, that's kind of I think this could have been really fun and enjoyable if they had treated the entire show the way they treated Jet and wrote him, where it's a remix of Jet without losing what Jet was. It's still the same, but different. The only other thing they kind of did that with was the back and forths between Jet and Spike. Not all of them. Some of them are kind of cringe. Some of them suck. Some of them are really fun, and then there's like a moment that's stupid. But the times that it's just Jet and Spike being bros, talking back and forth to each other, quipping off each other a little bit, they're fun.
Fancy.
Look at you, actually smiling.
Yeah, probably at the prospect of unlimited fake cheesy bread.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, I'll take it. Your brooding the last couple weeks has been getting on my nerves. Ugh, I love this place. You know they have bidets in the bathroom? Damn things are addictive.
Please tell me you're talking about the bread.
They feel genuine. They feel natural. They're enjoyable to watch. They're silly. And they feel like Jet and Spike from the anime. They feel like two guys who've been working together, who know each other a little bit. They're not too deeply involved in each other's lives in terms of like knowing personal stuff, but they work together a while and they have a repertoire with each other that has a good chemistry and a good back and forth. And then they ruin every one of those scenes, and they also kind of cut them out after the first few episodes. But they ruin every single one of those by having a third party join, and that third party is always fucking garbage. For example, one of the most disgusting examples, actually, is at episode 3. Episode 3, Jet and Spike are having a pretty good back and forth, again, like I said. And then they introduce a new character. Woodcock, of course, because it's a funny name. Everything has to be Marvel, funny, silly. And it's some woman And the diversity hires at Netflix thought it would be funny, so that's what happened. And she's a made-up character too. And she serves no real relevance in the entire show. It literally was just there for these jokes because they had to push this dumb bullshit. She comes in during this fun back and forth between these two guys, and immediately just goes into a big black cock obsession for no reason. I'm not even joking. She just shows up, and the first things out of her mouth are all about how she wants to fuck Jet, and how black he is, and how much she loves black dick. Literally. It is so cringe, so fucking stupid, so out of place, so retarded. It's like a little kid wrote it as a joke.
Sounds to me like blackmail.
You're damn right it is, because Jet, you are black and you are male.
This is another reason anime adaptations suck in the West, because of retards writing this stuff. Who the fuck thought that was funny or needed or served a purpose? Nobody. Some dumb whore on the writing staff who wants to fuck black guys but can't get any dick from anybody decided, I'm going to put in this new character and she's just going to obsess over Jet's dick. Just nonstop. Every single time she's in the show. She's only in it twice, luckily, that I recall. And both times, all she does is, oh, dick, 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 black dick, black dick. It's disgusting. It's horrible. It's stupid. It doesn't need to be there. It serves no purpose. It's pathetic. It's retarded. It doesn't fucking belong there. It's fucking stupid. If you can't write, then don't fucking get a writing job. Having some used up 65-year-old rotted out egg woman with her carton that's fallen apart, trying to be horny and pushing BBC propaganda is she shambles onto screen with her fucking ancient body, probably has a Tinder where she says, oh, I want children someday, when, her body doesn't even know what those are anymore. Her eggs have been evaporated and just cremated already. And they put this in there like it's supposed to be funny or hot or empowering or something. I don't know. Am I supposed to just go, yes, queen? I don't know. It doesn't belong anywhere. It doesn't belong in Bebop. It doesn't belong in a live-action adaptation of anime. It doesn't belong in a TV show. It doesn't belong in real life. It belongs nowhere. This person should not exist anywhere, and they don't. It's a fictional, made-up thing because no human being is like this. So don't do this. It's stupid. It's retarded. It doesn't belong. It's. Everybody has brought up this scene, I'm sure. There's no way everybody reviewing this or talking about the show has not brought this part up. It is fucking retarded. Then we have some mystical black lady pulled straight out of Dolemite. She's just a blaxploitation character for no reason. She just exists. She doesn't fit in with the Bebop show, even the Netflix version. Like, she doesn't fit in thematically. She's dressed up like she literally is acting in Dolemite. She's a blaxploitation character from the way she's cast, like the way she talks, the way she carries herself, the way her fashion that she's dressed up in for the show. She doesn't exist in the same universe as anybody else in the show. It's so weird and random and makes no sense. It's just we wanted to be woke, so we had her. Which, whatever, but why does she exist? She serves no purpose. Even in the show. No, that's not true. Okay, she serves a purpose for the retards watching. She acts as, a few times, she's basically just expositioning at the camera. Well, she's exposition to a character, but it really is just to the viewer. She'll just explain a whole backstory or something. Just sit there and read off a script. And serves no, like, the story is not even complicated. There is no complications in the story. It's the most simplified, clear-cut thing in the world, even though it's really bad, because they couldn't even manage that properly. I don't need some black lady telling me Spike is a good guy, but Vicious is bad. Because Spike is good, but Vicious is bad. I don't need that. Thank you. Like, fuck off. I don't care that she's black. I don't care that she's a woman. I just care about that part. Why does she exist? I understand Vicious is bad without being told, hey, yo, Vicious is bad because he's bad. And Spike is good because he's good. Who's that fucking stupid that's watching this? Even a child can understand the hero and the villain. Uh, Another complaint I have, which is not a very big one, it's just a small aside, kind of. I notice a lot of anti-police, anti-white stuff. Anti-white mostly in terms that everybody in the movie show. Sorry, I always call it a movie, even myself. A lot of the bad guys in the show are mixed race. There are all sorts of races. That's true. It's very diverse bad guys, but there's not one single good guy that's white. And a lot of the main bad guys are white. And every police officer is white. And every police officer in the show is a piece of shit. One's a scumbag working for the bad guys. One's a scumbag who stole Jet's woman and is fucking her. And then in even random episodes, every time the police show up, they're just killing everybody. It's like when watching fucking CNN trying to tell me cops are bad. They're not bad. Fuck you. Thin blue line all the way. Police are great. Until they start coming door to door to give us vaccines. But that has not happened yet in America, so they're still great. Deal with it. And, I noticed every time the police come up in the show, they're just murdering everybody for no real reason. And it's kind of shitty. And it felt like it was there because of current political climate stuff. And it didn't really... And the police were never really a very relevant thing in the anime either. And the few times they did show up, sometimes they'd be killing people or whatever, but they weren't like this. This really went out of its way to show the cops as bad. Not horribly out of the way, but every now and then they would make sure to remind you. And that really is, like, when you think about it, there's really not any white people either in the show that are good. The entire cast of the main Bebop crew is non-white. Spike's Asian, for some reason. Jet's black, for some reason. Faye is a Mexican, for some reason. The only... Vicious is white because he's bad. He's a British actor. Theater actor, actually. Not very good one, apparently. The only white, and I assume they're white, is Gren. And Gren is a freak show. So I would actually include him as a villain. He's the closest thing to a good guy that's white, though. This is another negative that I would actually... to get out of the race stuff. That ties back into the original show a little bit, though. For one of those few comparisons I mentioned. Which is Gren. Gren's entire character in the show, from what I recall, I could be wrong about some aspects of it, but a big part of his character, one, he's only there for like half an episode once, I think, maybe 1 or 2 episodes for an arc in the snowy place. He's pretty much irrelevant. Of course, they made him important, though, because in the original anime, he was a war-torn, he has PTSD like crazy. He's broken from war. Fighting on Mars, I think. And they try to give him new medication. This shitty doctor, if I recall, it was like on purpose without him knowing, though. They give him this medication that's supposed to help with his PTSD and calm him down. And instead, it turns him into a eunuch. Or, as you call them now. A transgender person. And it basically made him grow tits and shrunk up his dick probably, and it did all sorts of bad things to his body. It made him a hermaphrodite pretty much, and he suffers from it. He feels like the monster that he is, and that's it was a dramatic kind of fucked up story for not only in terms of what they did to him, but the fact that he was this soldier, and that's how they treated him afterwards. It was a little bit of a commentary on how war veterans are treated. And it was kind of powerful in that way, even though it was very irrelevant to the whole show kind of thing. Like, that was kind of what the character was. Meanwhile, in the live action, he is just a flamboyantly homosexual, trans, non-binary, gender, queer, fluid, buzzword-filled fucking freak who loves it and is very hypersexual about everything and is calling everybody lovelies. Like, that's not... I don't care that it's not the same as the show. I care that it's almost more offensive now than anything the show is. The show was not offensive to anybody. That character had a meaning. He didn't choose to be, transgender or take HRT or any of this stuff. And then, this is bad and evil. He got abused by the medical industry and by the government after he fought for them. And he became something he had a real hard time dealing with. It was such a more powerful thing, and now he's just this flaming queer running around happily about what he is, and there's none of that backstory. He's nobody. He's just a dude who's really gay. Or whatever he is. I don't fucking know.
Put the gun down.
I said drop it! Now!
Same goes for you, Lovelace.
Hey. Nobody needs to be pointing any weapons right now.
But it's not, I don't care if they made him, if they wanted to make him whatever they want, if they wanted to add trans characters, whatever, but make them work, make them make sense, make them have a meaning. Don't erase a character that had meaning and call it problematic, which this actor has called it. The actor actually brought up in a bunch of interviews how they were fixing the flaws, the problematic toxic flaws or whatever, some shit like that, with the original anime. How is that a flaw? Compared to just, why didn't they just make him a new character? I would have been fine with that. It would still be stupid. I would mention it as like a very quick one-sentence thing of like, this character sucks and didn't really belong. But to take a character that had so much value to him and meaning, if they wanted to expand on him more, rather than the anime where he kind of doesn't matter much, other than what he, the few bits he's there, then why didn't they, like, how is that fixing a problem? There was no problem with Gren before. And they just decided that somehow that's problematic because it puts people who it's not even talking about, transgenders and non-binary, whatever, into a bad light. And it wasn't doing that. It was never even discussing them. Those people didn't even exist back then. It didn't matter. And in Japan, it still doesn't matter to them. They were never commenting on that. They were commenting on the horrors of war, what it does to our troops, and how we treat the troops afterwards. And medical science, how medical science treats people as guinea pigs. It wasn't about any of this other bullshit. So it wasn't problematic. It wasn't offensive. And now you have this guy who, to me, feels offensive. He feels more like a joke, like he's an over-the-top caricature of what transgender or non-binary, whatever he's supposed to be. I don't even fucking know. The LGBTQ, whatever he is. It seems like a making fun of them almost, rather than something empowering and showing them, hey, here's a character like you. It's just showing them you're a joke. You're a fucking stupid, retarded thing that doesn't belong here. That's what that feels like to me in that show. Gren is a horrible character. And he shouldn't be there. If they were going to do this to him, they should just not have included him. It's stupid. It's offensive. Even to someone like me who doesn't care about that stuff. He is offensive. Because he is a caricature. He's a joke. He's not something you can look at and take seriously. Because there's nothing else to him other than I exist so that I can be trans or non, whatever he is. I don't know. Whatever fucking stupid word you want to apply to him in the show, the character. He exists to be that for people who go, oh my god, it's just like me. That's not a good character. It's not a good way to develop a character or write a character. There should be a character. He's not a character. He's just a thing. He's just a billboard standing there saying, look, this is like you. We know you exist. It's offensive. It's the laziest bullshit joke in the world. And he shouldn't be there. So let's keep moving on to the cast before I get canceled. Faye Valentine, another character where they fucked it up by trying to empower and fix a character. Another one where the actress, in this case, started shit with the fans. Before the show even came out, she was attacking fans, harassing fans, shitting on fans, making fun of fans of the anime who were excited for the show, and made them unexcited because she was being a bitch. She's a cunt. She hasn't... I don't understand this whole situation we've created with people in Hollywood or Netflix, wherever fucking Hollywood and Netflix record shit nowadays, where celebrities... Not that this girl's a celebrity. She's a no-name Mexican. I've never even heard of her. Who fucking cares about her? She's nothing. But where these people who think they're famous and celebrities and matter more than anybody else try to start shit with the people who are also the main demographic you're trying to get to watch your show, how good is it marketing-wise to say, hey, fan person who's actually interested in the show, who loves Cowboy Bebop anime, I want you to watch the show, but also you're fucking retarded and sexist and a pig, and I hate you, and don't talk to me because I'm better than you. How does that get me to watch your show? How does that get anybody to watch anything? That happens all the time. Video game developers, celebrities all over the place, musicians. It's the same thing over and over again. And the fan base, like, of these people always defend it. I don't think she has any fans because she's a fucking nobody. But, like, I've never understood why that's allowed. Like, where's her manager? Oh, she's nobody, so she doesn't have one because she can't afford one. Oh, I'm sorry. That was insensitive of me to assume she'd have a manager. And that's the problem. None of these people know how to manage themselves, and they're hiring no-name nobodies who don't have management to do it for them. So you get a dumb bitch or a dumb telling you, you're problematic, and this show is problematic. We're fixing it. If you have a problem with that, fuck off. Okay, well, they did, and now enjoy your no season 2, because you helped get it canceled with your behavior and the way the show was written to fit into that kind of behavior. So, congrats. So to actually talk about the character instead of the actress, like I've mentioned already, Faye was kind of bad at bounty hunting. She's not that great, and she uses her body to kind of, the few times she's successful or gets information to sell, she does it using her body. She's a sexual thing because she is weak. She's covering for her weaknesses by using her body because she knows that's a strong point of hers. That's a good trait for a character. It's not sexualization. That's not treating her like an object. It's her deciding, if I treat myself like an object, I can get what I want. And her deciding to do that actively as a conscious human being in fiction. But, it's something that makes sense. It's believable. It shows that she's smart enough to make strength of her strengths and overcome the weaknesses with those strengths. The anime, or the live action rather, treats it like it was just there because anime fans want titties and nudity. Well, there was no nudity in Cowboy Bebop, but they want titties, or they want slutty clothes, and they want to treat women like there's nothing there but something to jerk off to. That's not the case. I've heard this with other things too. Like, again, I get off on tangents. Final Fantasy XIV. A lot of people who bring up Stormblood, they're like, oh, people just hate this one because they can't. Nobody playing, so many people playing this game just can't handle a woman lead. Nobody likes women leads because they're a bunch of loser guys playing this game. Have you met an anime fan? Have you met a video game fan? We love female leads, whether they're hot or cute or fun or enjoyable or just well written. They're our favorite ones. Have you looked at people playing Final Fantasy XIV? They're all anime girls. Nobody plays the guys. Some do. Sorry, I know. I've seen you guys out there. It's funny. You mostly do it as memes, though. It's always the Rogadines with their fucking topless running around being silly. Anyway, the point is, this argument that we don't like females is retarded. We love them, and it's not just for sexual reasons. It's not just because they're hot or skimpy clothing or this or that. They're really good characters a lot of the time. I mean, my favorite anime is Nana. There's the 2 lead females in that show. And the rest of the cast are very important, but they're supporting cast. The 2 leads are female. Every show that I've almost everything, my favorite things in general, are all women leads. I love women leads. I love women in storytelling. And so that doesn't apply. And that's kind of how they treated it, though, where she's just sex appeal. She's just objectified and treated as a jerk-off thing for fans. So we're changing that because it's offensive, and we want to show women are more than just a sex object. Well, sorry, Faye's not the character to pick for that when that's what she is. By choice. She decides to be a slut to make money. Just like a prostitute, just like OnlyFans that you all defend for some reason too. Why isn't that objectifying women? Because they're making that choice. So why is Faye not allowed to make that choice herself? Because she's fiction? Well, that even less sense. She doesn't exist, so fucking who cares? It's stupid. But more importantly, what's even stupider, and this blows my mind still, they go on all this stuff about they're not going to sexualize Faye. They're not going to treat a woman like a sex object because that's rude. It's offensive now. It's not woke. It's not smart. It's not in tune with current society and culture. And then they immediately follow that with the show, where in the first episode you meet her, she accidentally jerks off a guy and has cum all over her hand for the scene as a joke. The guy's a tree form, so she doesn't know, and she's like, and she gets cum all over her hand, literal semen dripping off of her hands, and it's there as a joke, the whole scene. Nothing like that in the anime, ever, not once. There is no joke like that in the anime. She is never that sexualized in the entire anime. So while they gave her better clothes in terms of not sexualizing her, not better clothes really, they look like shit. Not only in terms of not looking like Faye's clothes, but they look like something in the back of a Goodwill that nobody wants. Like, they look really bad for some reason. They couldn't even find her normal looking clothes. And so aside changing her outfit to cover her body more, they sexualized her way more by having her have a handful of cum. And then they go a step further. They don't stop there. That's not enough sexualizing her. Later on, they just have her randomly, and this is not from the anime, this is made up, this character doesn't even exist. She randomly has lesbian sex with a mechanic working on the Bebop. Because it's funny. And they even show her naked with the mechanic. So you have a sex scene, basically, with Faye Valentine in live action, which is against sexualizing the character, while in the anime, there's not even a moment close to that whatsoever. They treat her with so much more respect in the anime, and she doesn't even exist in there. It's a cartoon character. In the live action, they go all in, turning into nothing but a girl that you're supposed to think is hot. She's not. Sorry, Mexican girl, you're really unattractive. And it sucks. Not only does it destroy Faye as a character over and over again, I mean, the character just sucks. She's nothing like Faye either. But she's also just the most irritating, unenjoyable person on screen. Out of the entire cast, Faye is just... she drains any scene she's in of any fun. Like, I think the clip I'm going to use earlier, where Jet and Spike are talking in the cafe or whatever, the restaurant, the diner. And she shows up and she just immediately zaps the entire scene of any enjoyment. And then she's ugly. And then they have her super sexualized while she goes on Instagram talking about how she'd never sexualized the character because fuck you guys. It's retarded. It doesn't even align with their own views. It's so stupid. Like, how is that making her less sexual less of a sex object, less of a thing for guys to look at, having her have lesbian sex for no reason? That's what I think about that. Another change they made that does directly compare, that I'm going to have to compare the two, the anime and live action, is this new nickname for Spike. Fearless. You will hear this name a lot in the latter half of the show, and it's what almost everybody refers to Spike as, other than Spike and the Bebop crew. And it's some made-up thing that the Syndicate called him, and Vicious called him, when they were partners. And there's no reason for it. I kind of get why they made it up, not get in terms of agree with it, but so the live action for some reason decided the worst part of the anime needed to be the focus. The anime, they were smart enough, made the right decision. The Syndicate stuff is fucking gay. It doesn't need to be there. It's lame. It's the worst parts of Bebop. And so there's only like 5 episodes about it, I think, in the entire show. The live action, on the other hand, almost, I'd say over half of the show is dedicated to the Syndicate, or at least has a lot of focus on it. And Vicious and Julia, also 2 characters who were shit originally and had no relevance, really. And now they're the main, like, they're so main and important and around all the time, and the Syndicate stuff is around all the time. And Fearless is around all the time. And that's why they made Fearless, because they wanted to tie it even more into the Syndicate stuff. So they had to give him a nickname deep in the lore behind the Syndicate and Spike. And also, I think some of it was just like the quipping that's constant in this show. Because yes, that is another problem with the show, is it feels like a fucking Marvel movie. And that is not what Cowboy Bebop felt like. And that's not what I want to watch in general. Whether it be an adaptation or not, I don't want to watch a Marvel thing. I don't watch the movies, and I don't want to watch any show like it. Everybody's quipping constantly, and they're all lame quips. And there's a back and forth constant quips. And then also, oh, well, Spike isn't really a nickname. It's not a cool name. Everybody in our Marvel movies has nicknames, and Vicious is a nickname, even though we don't actually know that. I mean, really, in the show, he has no name beyond Vicious. So we have to give Spike one. Fearless. Now he's like, I don't know, he's like a Marvel character. It's stupid. This overall change, I felt like it matters a lot more than just, it's not the same as Bebop, because it changes the entire attitude of the show. It gets obsessed with the Syndicate, and that kind of makes it lose what made Bebop so popular. Bebop, the anime, was so popular not only because it was the first anime that people got introduced to for most people at the time, and so a lot of millennials and a lot of people younger than them being introduced to Bebop through anime through Bebop. because of the person who had been introduced to anime through Bebop recommending it to somebody who didn't watch anime. It perpetually goes and goes and goes, where this is my first anime, so it's the best anime, so you should watch it over and over and over again. And it's happened. Luckily, it's stopping with Bebop because it ain't that great. But one of the main reasons, beyond what I've explained earlier about why Bebop got so popular, is because of how much it really did fit that mood of being jazz. It's a very big theme in Bebop, is the jazz. It's a jazzy show. It doesn't take things serious. A few times it does, and that's it. Other than that, it's not that it doesn't take things serious. It's that it has a jazzy, upbeat feeling to dealing with the like really downtrodden, darker sides of society in the galaxy of the show. So they'll deal with something really serious, but they won't deal with it heavily for the viewer. It doesn't come off as this heavy, serious thing, except little beats and moments. And so it was enjoyable because you could watch these really good, not really good. You can watch these stories that were pretty good, for that episode or whatever, and then you'd have a little part of it at the end or something that was emotional. But up to that, it was fun. This feels a lot more negative and dark and heavy, and like it's trying to be brooding and edgy. And that isn't what Bebop is liked for. And I'm not saying, oh, make it just like Bebop, but that's the tone of Bebop. That's what you wanted to get across. If you're going to adapt Cowboy Bebop as an anime to a live action, that's the one thing you need to retain, is that feeling of, yeah, we're dealing with serious stuff every now and then. We're doing it in a way that's fun and upbeat. Instead, they lost that whole feeling. It's just Deadpool quipping to that was their attempt to feel like that. Was just, we're going to have a lot of quips. And that doesn't do it. It's just doomer bullshit constantly other than that. And that leads into Vicious and Julia, which are horrible characters now, because they also like marvelized them. I gotta just... So, Vicious and Julia, like I said, are very important characters now. And Vicious in the anime has no real backstory, no real character. He's kind of a generic baddie. Another reason I don't care about Bebop that much. None of the characters had anything to them. Vicious, the most, had, like, out of everybody, had the least to him. He was a bad guy because he was a bad guy. He was a very simple character. It was very simplistic storytelling in the anime. Vicious is just a crazy, edgy, grimdark bad guy who just fucks shit up. He's supposed to be just a force of nature. He's just evil. And he's supposed to be imposing and something you fear. Something dangerous that you hear about every now and then, is coming, and you want to know what's going to happen when it hits, but you don't want to be there. It's supposed to be... He's supposed to be the scary character. Not scary like a horror thing, but he's supposed to be something intimidating. And in the live action, one, he's there constantly, which already kills the mystery and the thrill of like this evil thing of nature. Oh, he's just there all the time. And two, more importantly, they turned him into this pathetic, whiny little shit. He either has funny back and forths with people, or he's just being pathetic.
Mushy mushy.
Hello, Vicious.
Yes.
At one point, and I'm not speaking about way later, early on when he first has to deal with the Syndicate leaders, he's like almost crying just thinking about going there. He's shown as this pathetic guy. And again, this ties back into the race thing. They made him white, and they wanted to make him a pathetic loser, like, as much as they could, to shit on white people as much as they could. He's a crybaby, he's pathetic, he's afraid of things, he's a whiner. And more importantly, they then also need to make him bad, right? You need to know he's a bad guy. And Americans are too stupid, apparently, according to Netflix, to understand a bad guy without something very, very, very obvious. So what do? Oh, of course. They had him beat Julia all the time. Oh, he's married to her too, so he's a wife-beating piece of shit. Because in American culture, for whatever reason, the worst thing you can do to somebody. Not murder, not rape. It's punching a woman. And so he's punching her, he's choking her. He's just harming her as much as possible, scaring the shit out of her, threatening her, telling us like they had to make him evil. And evil, the Netflix understanding of it, is a white guy who hurts women. Rather than anything else. I'm not saying it need to be some deep thing. Exactly, again, like I said, the anime, he's a nothing character. He's just evil. Why couldn't he just be evil in the show too? Like, instead they had to make him be a wife beater who also cries before he sees his bosses? It's retarded. It makes him feel pathetic instead of intimidating at all. He seems like a coward little... You know what? Every time he's on screen, he reminds me, especially with Julia, especially when he hurts Julia, he reminds me of that meme image, the drawing, because somebody posted on Reddit or something, where he basically he threw his Nintendo Switch at his wife's head in his Mario pajamas because she did something or said something he didn't like. And that is what Vicious is now. He's just the soy boy beta male who Julia wouldn't fuck enough, so he threw his fucking Nintendo Switch at her and lost his Zelda saves and is crying over it afterwards while he's standing and posing over her with his katana. He is a pathetic, retarded version of Vicious, who was already a bad character, and they made something way worse. Then you got Julia, his wife, and the lover of Spike, who Spike's obsessed with. And boy, she has to be the worst thing in the show. Worse than Gren, worse than Faye, maybe. The actress is horrendous. Her eyes make her look like an alien. She can't act. She's ugly. And the character is a strong woman who don't need no man. Who, for whatever reason, married Vicious then, and hates him and is terrified of him, but married him anyway. And she is constantly a useless bitch. Never not. She never serves a purpose. She's never useful. There's nothing to say about her. And she hates Vicious because she regrets getting with him. She's useless. She's in the show. She was really nothing at all, other than Spike's old flame that he was obsessed with. But in the show, she's nothing. She's just annoying. Every second she's there is just embarrassing and stupid. She should not have been in the show if this is what she was going to be. Not just in terms of adapting the anime, but as a character, she just sucks. Another thing that is almost as stupid as Julia is the fucking Trade Federation alien masks from the Star Wars prequels that for some reason the Syndicate leaders wear. In the anime, and this is another thing where Netflix is kind of more offensive than anybody else possible here, the progressive, offensive lefts who, they're the racist ones. In the anime, the Syndicate look like these masks that these guys are wearing in the live action. They're supposed to be really old little Asian men. And so they kind of, and Netflix said, oh, that's offensive. It's like caricatures of little ugly Asian old men. So instead, they turned them into fucking retarded-looking helmets that look just like it, instead of just casting old Asian men, or just ignoring the way they looked. No, they have to wear these helmets that look like monstrous aliens. They look so fucking dumb, and it just seems offensive to say, oh, those guys were just supposed to be old Japanese guys, or Chinese, whatever gets the triads of Chinese, I guess. They're so ugly, let's make them into alien mask faces that these guys wear. How is that not worse? Again, a problem they decided was a problem that wasn't a problem, and they fixed it in the most offensive way possible. They basically just said old Asian men are inhumanly deformed and alien looking. And to continue with the Syndicate, but not the alien heads, which is hard. But the entire show is the Syndicate, so it's a little hard to keep moving from that too, but I'm going to try to in a bit. But there's an episode, it goes over Vicious and Spike's past. I'm amazed this hasn't come up more. Again, I didn't read really full reviews or watch any full reviews, because I don't care about other people's opinions, to be honest. I kind of think people are stupid and I don't waste my time. I appreciate you watching this, if you're watching it, but I don't watch other people's content, really. Depending. I watch it every now and then stuff, but not like that. From what I've seen or heard, nobody has brought up this scene. In the episode where Vicious and Spike are shown in their history, the backstory of them, there's a scene, again ruining Vicious' character, where Vicious just starts talking about how he gets his balls trimmed. There's no joke, there's nothing else. He's literally just talking about having his testicles shaved. And the person he hires, and which kind of blade you should use to be safest and most smooth. I don't really have any comment to make about that. Other than, why? Why? Finally, let's talk a little bit about less direct in-show stuff. More about the production itself. I'm obviously not a professional in movies or video editing or lighting or directing or acting, but I've seen enough movies and TV shows and read enough stories. I know enough to make a judgment, like anybody else. We all have our opinions. And the lighting and cinematography in the show are just shit. It feels like Battlefield Earth half the time because, for some reason, let me turn on the background. Well, there's no environment in the world I'm in. The camera is constantly at a Dutch angle. And not constantly, not as bad as Battlefield Earth, but boy, half the show maybe is just angled for no reason. No reason at all. It just is. Even comedy scenes, drama scenes, it doesn't matter. Action scenes, every type of scene, randomly, the camera will just be 45 degrees, 30 degrees, 7 degrees. It will just be everywhere. Tilted, tilted, tilted. That's garbage cinematography. You never should do that unless there's a reason, and even then, you do it sparingly. The lighting, it feels like a YouTuber did it. I don't know how else to explain it. This is a problem with a lot of Netflix and current sitcoms too. Lighting is really bad lately. Even in film, it looks terrible. The lighting is just terrible. It looks amateurish. It really does look like old YouTube fan stuff for like video games and stuff where they would like film in the parking lot. I think like Rocket Jump was the name of one of the popular ones. Like it looks like that kind of amateur pseudo-professional, we're kind of know what we're doing, but not really, kind of lighting and cinematography. And that is the entire show suffers from that. And you think, oh, lighting and cinematography don't matter that much. They do. They're so important. Movies are a visual medium, first and foremost. That's why they are moving pictures. The pictures. You're there for everything. But it's like a video game saying, well, the graphics don't matter. No, they do. It's a video game. Yes, the gameplay matters, the writing matters, the character, everything matters. It all matters very much. It all has to be very balanced. That includes the graphics. And in this case, that includes the cinematography and the lighting and the directing of the scenes. And all of that's so bad that even if you don't know enough to say, oh, the lighting in the scene is bad, you know enough that your brain, at least subconsciously, your enjoyment of that scene is different. The way you view that scene, literally, it looks different, so you're viewing it differently, and it impacts your view, your experience with viewing it. And this goes back to the professionalism and treating it like it's a legitimate thing. They don't, so you end up with it looking like shit, being recorded like shit, being lit like shit, being directed like shit, and that ruins it, even for somebody who could not give a shit less about the anime or anything else. Even if this was its own show called Space Hunters, and it was just a space syndicate, whatever, and it was all new, nothing to do with anything. When it looks that bad, it's hard to watch and hard to take serious and hard to enjoy. I had the same problem with I don't remember the name of the show. It was some sitcom that was recent, and I tried to watch it because it was free. The lighting alone and the colors in it were just so horrendous. The saturation on the tape, like when they were recording it, was just blown the fuck out. Everything was so vibrant, and the lighting was so flat and yet overdone. It made it impossible to watch. I couldn't tell if I enjoyed it because it was just so hard to look at and unenjoyable for the eyes. And that carried over to the writing and directing, obviously, too, being unprofessional, uncaring, not treating it with any respect or care. Because not only do you have them fixing issues that didn't exist, you have them, it's hard to explain, so I will use an example in a second, but they basically took away any impact from every scene, because they do a few episodes that are not one-to-one, but they cover the story pretty well early on, where it's like pretty similar to the anime at times. And that's fine. That was cool, I guess. But you have, like I said earlier, there's Bebop has a kind of a feel where it's like, it's upbeat, but there's dramatic, serious moments that are emotional. Not like, oh, I'm crying, but like, they have impact emotionally on the viewer. And this is the best example, really, in the show, because it is so close to the original anime, is the Asimov and his wife, the Red Eye episode, which is like episode 2 or 2, maybe? And in that episode, in the anime, again, it's been a while. I could be a little bit wrong on how things go, but, well, in the Netflix show, first off, they have him quipping. The first scene with Asimov, he's making jokes during a fucking serious drug deal, which ends up with a bunch of people being killed too. He's making jokes to the guy before all the action starts. Asimov he was never shown to be having any funny shit to him in the anime. And again, I don't care. But you can't see this character as a serious thing when the first moment you see him, he's quipping like Deadpool. And then back to what I was about to say earlier. In the anime, so near the end of the episode, spoilers, at the end of the episode, there's a big reveal. It has a lot of impact. Where his pregnant wife, her stomach, for whatever reason, ends up getting cut or shot or something. And instead of a bunch of blood and a fetus or something popping out, a bunch of red eye, the drug, the little vials of the drug pour out. And really, she was never pregnant. She was pretending to be pregnant to carry him. And that's a big reveal in the show. It's a big twist for the viewer. And then, ultimately, she murders her husband. She murders Asimov. She kills him. In the end, and in live action, Faye randomly kills Asimov. And the best part is, after she snipes him, they show her having sniped him. And then she's gone. She doesn't even show up the next episode. Then they never bring it up. There was no explanation for why she did that. No anything. She just randomly kills Asimov and dips. And how is that better? Like, why make that change? That's what I don't get about certain parts of the show. That could have made it at least a little more watchable. Why make that change when the entire impact of that episode was one from the twist with the red eye vials, but also from her killing her own husband in the end. And instead you just have Faye randomly doing it? What did we gain from not doing what it did originally? It was a poor attempt by some female writer on the staff, no doubt, to empower Faye. Look at her, she killed somebody. I don't get it. All that did was detract from the show. It has nothing to do with comparing it to the anime. Again, if this was a standalone thing with no connection to anything else, it would still be better if it played out the way it had in the anime. Not because of adapting it, but because it was done way better in the anime, where it was an impact from it. Same with like all that. And this is what I noticed. Right around when her stomach gets opened and it's a bunch of red eye and not a baby. I noticed I was looking at the screen the past entire episode length, but I hadn't been watching it. I was just staring at it without even knowing I wasn't watching it. That's the biggest sin this show commits. And what I noticed trying to watch the rest of it too. It's nothing. Nothing has impact, nothing has meaning, nothing has value, nothing has emotion. It's just shit happening on a screen. That's exactly how I described the show. I said it right then to my friend I was watching it with, and I'm saying it again because it perfectly encapsulated the problems with this show. Cowboy Bebop, Netflix Cowboy Bebop adaptation is just stuff happening on a screen. And that's it. There's nothing to it. It is just stuff going on. And that scene is when I realized it. That's when I didn't look up. I wasn't looking at my phone. I was watching the show, and I just realized, wait, I was aghast. I was confounded by it. I didn't get it. Like, nothing had happened. It just happened. Nothing happens, but stuff happens. Like, the red eye comes pouring out of her gut. And because they treated Asimov like a joke, they treated the wife like nothing, the characters didn't matter, none of the interactions mattered, none of them were engaging or interesting or enjoyable or exciting. So when that happens, you feel nothing. It's just an event that occurred in the show. And it serves no purpose. You don't even realize like you're supposed to feel anything about it. It just happens. And that is what ruins the Netflix adaptation, not only being an adaptation, but as its own thing. It just, nothing means anything. There's no buildup, there's no development, there's no interesting things, there's no intriguing things, there's no exciting things. There are just a bunch of things. The only other, like, another example, which was closer to 1-1 also, was the clown guy, you know, Pierre LeFou or whatever the fuck his name is. That, and again, it felt like nothing. And then when he finally dies and he's crying for his mom, it came off like it was supposed to be funny, I think. It was, again, just stuff. And the only part I liked about the, you know, obviously I enjoyed that part a little bit more, the whole episode, because it was fun as a Juggalo. Seeing a clown with a bunch of guns and shit, blowing shit up, shooting people. You know, wicked clowns never die.
The wicked clowns will never die, motherfucker!
This show, we're getting to the end here. The show kept taking me back to one place in my mind when I would notice I was still watching it. Because again, I was watching, I was paying attention, I was looking right at it, I was not playing on my phone, I was not in other tabs, I was watching it. I was just not able to watch it while watching it. And it kept taking me back. The lighting, the directing, the acting, the cinematography, the lack of anything interesting except, I'll get to it in a second, it kept taking me back to The Quiet Man, that really horrific Sony game. One of the worst games ever made, in every possible way. That's where my mind kept going back. That's what this show reminded me of every step of the way. Hell, it was hyped up just the same too. And The Quiet Man is, to be compared to The Quiet Man is not a positive thing. And at the very least, The Quiet Man is hilarious. Not on purpose, but boy, it is a fun fucking thing to watch, to play. It is hilarious. There is not much else I've laughed as hard as I have to as Dan Reichert at Giant Bomb trying to get through one of the later scenes and just spamming this kick over and over and over again. It was terrible. And it's fun, and it's enjoyable, and it keeps your attention because of how bad it is.
Still there. Okay, just rerun that.
Stop
What's
it.
happening?
I got nothing.
More slap kicks.
I got nothing.
More foot slaps.
This is no.
I'm losing my mind.
This is the greatest game of all time. Fuck it. I'm back around and loop around.
In the morning and I can't tell if this is really happening.
We're recording this?
No, definitely not, because this is a fever dream.
Bebop doesn't do that. Bebop doesn't do shit. The worst part about Netflix's Bebop is really that nothingness that it is. I've said it already, but it is nothing. It's stuff moving on a screen for the entirety of the whole runtime of the show. It is just stuff on a screen moving around. You can't pay attention. It's got no style, it's got no substance, it's got nothing enjoyable, entertaining, intriguing, interesting. exciting. It has nothing. It's nothing. I wish it was style over substance. It's not. There is no style. There's no substance. There's no positive things. There's no, oh, it's so bad it's good. There's nothing. It fails completely. Not just as a Cowboy Bebop anime adaptation, but it fails as television. It fails as entertainment. It fails as anything that's meant for somebody to consume. It is just fucking nothing. It's so unremarkable that it's one of the worst things it could be. You can't, there's nothing about it good or enjoyable, even ironically. There's nothing positive to say about it, even as, oh, it's so bad that this part was at least, there's nothing. It's shit. It's just an empty, vapid movement of pixels on your display that you can't even pay attention to while focusing on it. And that's why it's shit. And that's kind of my review. So fuck the fuck off, motherfucker.